Welcome to the From Corner to Corner podcast. I'm Sean, one half of the most electrifying podcast team out there. Thanks for tuning in. Before we get started with tonight's episode, be sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe because it only helps out the channel. We hope that you enjoyed tonight's show, and here we go.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. I've been more than ready, prepping heavy for this day to come. Bet that if you let me keep it steady, you gon' know who won. I don't take it easy, nothing easy, except for giving up. I don't do no way except these weights that I've been lifting up. Got no fear in my body, no, I don't need nobody. I know everything that got me, and so now nothing can stop me. I just grind and work. Yeah, you know the motto. You know we going hard, but we might never see tomorrow. I kept my eye on the face and got real from it. Master patience and free will from it. That's the real motivation. Some people kill for it.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of From Corner to Corner podcast on the YouTube version. Tonight we have the honor of talking to the CEO of Shane Taylor Promotions, Shane Taylor himself. Shane, how are you doing this evening?
I am fantastic, boss. Thank you guys for having me. Before we got this thing going, had a great talk about the NFL and the playoffs. So that was dope. Really excited to be here.
We are huge sports fans and huge wrestling fans. And, we knew who you were prior to WrestleCade, but we hadn't actually got to see you in the ring before. And so you pretty well dominated at WrestleCade this year. You won the Battle Royal that night on the main night, and it was pretty cool to see that. And then we recently saw that Ring of Honor they're doing their thing, kind of taking a little bit of break, and so Shane Taylor Promotions is kind of basically free agents now, and everybody's like, well, where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? And I was like, I don't know, but we need to talk to him before he goes somewhere, because a lot of times we don't get to if you wind up at the WWE, we'll never get to talk to you.
Right.
So we wanted to get in there while we could and take the opportunity to talk to you and just kind of find out more about Shane Taylor.
Shout out to Tracy Myers and Brian Hawks too, who put on WrestleCade every year. Just an absolutely incredible weekend that they put together. A lot of hard work, a lot of moving parts that need to be done to bring in not only bring the event itself together, but bring in all the talent, bring in all the vendors, bring in all that. Like it's a tremendous undertaking that they absolutely crush every single year. So shouts out to them. Had the honor of tag teaming with my guys, Khan and Moses, to defend the Ring of Honor World 6-man tag team champions on the first night. Go out there, win that TRB Top Rope Battle Royal championship the second night. And just an incredible time throughout. So shouts out to them for that. And yeah, man, I feel like wrestling right now, we're in this sort of like gold rush phase, right? There's so many people that have been released, companies going on hiatus. So there's this, wave of talent, right? So everybody's doing their very best to get into all these spots. And sometimes when you're in this game, sometimes when you're strategizing, it's best to play the long game. It's best to wait. It's best to let all the dust settle, see where parts go, and then assess, right? So that's what we're doing now. We are looking at the field, we're assessing, and then we'll see what the best options are for the group, the best options for everybody individually, and we'll make that move from there. But regardless if we are all in the same place or we're all in different places, STP is still STP. It's going to be like that. We'll be doing more stuff together on the independents. Like, this is something that we're going to build regardless of the three letters attached to anybody else's name.
Now, Shane, quick question for you.
Sorry.
My bad, Sean. Quick question for you. How did Shane Taylor Promotions come to be?
That's a good question. Shane Taylor Promotions came to be out of passion and frustration, because when I won the TV title, I was only the third African-American male to win that title in the 20-year history of Ring of Honor, the only other two being Kenny King and Jay Lethal, right? As I won it, I started thinking of all the great television champions of the past and how they were treated, and the pedestal that they were put on. And I thought to myself, finally, this is my time. This is all this hard work. This is going to be what it is for. It's my time to shine. And then for whatever reason, none of that came. None of the accolades, none of the international matches, none of the praise, none of the announcements, none of the things that came with this championship, that I had seen given to others, came when I got it, right? But at the same time, I'm watching us promote every other company that we're working with, but not the people who are helping to build where we're at right now. So I essentially thought to myself, was like, okay, then if we're worried about promoting other companies, then I'll just make myself another company. I will be exactly what you're going to promote and make you promote me, and I'll promote myself. So that's what I did, and when you do something like that, it can rub people the wrong way, but I can't allow, and I don't do well with somebody trying to feel like their opinion of me is going to determine what my success is. I know the work that I put in. I know the preparation. I know what the results do. And I know, and I can be confident in saying that if you were to take a look at Ring of Honor for the last 5 years and give a top 5 of who had the best matches, who was the most consistent, who was getting the most buzz, who was generating everything that you wanted, my name would be in there, and if we probably wanted, we could probably go top 3. You see what I'm saying? So for me, it's not about whether you like me. It's not about whether you want me to be the guy. The fact of the matter is, I am that dude, and you can either move out of the way or I'll just go through you. Right? There's really only those two options. And so then when I started it, you need people around you, because this is still, this is still very much a numbers game when it comes to how things work, business, marketing, all that stuff. So started talking to people, and I'm a real big chemistry, synergy, and energy guy, right? We don't have to have the same goals, but I want us to have the same destination in mind, right? And so I started talking to Ron Hunt, who became the COO and the VP. And we laid together a strategy, man, to find like-minded individuals who wanted to change the way that professional wrestling promoters, professional wrestling companies, professional wrestling fans see African-American males, and how they learn about us, how they learn about our culture, how they look at us, what their expectations for us are, what they can and or should be, and what they shouldn't be, And so then, as we talk to Khan, Moses, O'Shea, Edwards, everybody's vision, everybody's goals in this sport started to line up. And once you get the 5 of us now, you've got 5 college-educated Black men who are businessmen who also can whoop your ass. We're not going to pretend we're less intelligent. We're not going to pretend like we're something that we're not. We're not going to lessen ourselves so other people feel comfortable, because that's not who we are. If you're uncomfortable with 5 Black men being together talking shit, that's your problem, not ours. Because you weren't afraid of DX, You weren't afraid of the Bullet Club. You weren't afraid of Evolution. You weren't afraid of any other group. So the fact that you're afraid of us or we make you nervous is your problem, not our problem. And when we were able to truly just be ourselves, we started to show that although we know who we're doing this for and we know who we want to follow us, we're also here to entertain everybody, and everybody was getting on board, so it's not just one group of fans. It's every group of fans that, understands that, when you're not supposed to be the stars, when you're not supposed to be in the spot, when you're not supposed to be those guys and you do it anyway, everybody can relate to that. And so that ultimately is what, is how everything got started and why the group has been so successful, even with the lack of promotion by, the people who are supposed to promote everything. That's why we just started doing it ourselves. What I love about who we are is that when you go back, the self-promotion, the promotion by the people, by our fans, that's what grew this. It was organic. You could look at every pay-per-view clip, right? When they're hyping a pay-per-view, it would be, come see the Foundation, come see La Faction and Go Bernable, come see the Briscoes, come see OGK, come see Violence Unlimited, and many more, every single time. And I was like, all right, you can keep doing it. You're going to keep adding fuel to the fire, and we're going to keep making you look dumb. But we enjoyed it. We enjoyed that because we enjoy having that chip on our shoulder. We enjoy being pushed, and we enjoy making people look dumb in the process.
I love it. I love it.
I do too. And you talked about how being an African American male, once you won the TV title, you didn't feel like you got what other TV champions had got. And you talked about how you probably over the last 5 years have been one of the hottest performers in Ring of Honor. I would argue that Gresham and Lethal are right at the end, and maybe you three are the top three. And it's like I don't understand. You have obviously earned your spot and earned those accolades. So I really feel like it was a terrible move on their part not to give you the appropriate, push, so to speak, that you probably deserved.
Well, and the other thing that I'm thinking is they basically created a monster, right?
Right.
Ignore me for long enough, and I will show you, because a lot about the independent wrestling scene is self-promotion, right? I know, like, Danhausen's one of those guys that took the COVID year and just blew himself up on social media. And, you're the first opportunity that we've had to talk to anybody from Ring of Honor, but you're the guy that we wanted to talk to, right? 100%. I mean, you were the first guy from Ring of Honor that we wanted to talk to, because we like what you're doing, right? And me and Neil are both faction guys, right? We love factions, and you don't get good factions anymore. AEW, they have a million different factions, but it's like sometimes they don't know how to do it. Shane Taylor Promotions is the type of faction that you love. Now, unfortunately, the way we like our factions is we like the factions to carry all the gold, and you guys didn't get the opportunity to get to that point before they took the break. And I don't know what happens, if they come back from the break strong, if you guys wind up there or whatever, but I think it's a fantastic story. And I hate the fact that, it's almost like, well, we're just going to give you the TV title to shut you up or whatever, and if they're not going to push you the way that they do everyone else, which, Shane, it happens across the world, and I think we should be past that point now. I mean, all this crap going on in the NFL and stuff now, we should be past that.
We should be, but I mean, the fact of the reality is that we're just not, right? Like, right. There's the world in which we wish we all lived in, and then there's the world we actually fucking live in. Yep. You know what I mean? And sorry for cussing. I don't know if I can, but it is like, but we have the edit thing, so it's all good.
Yeah.
And for me, I believe it's a multi-layered thing, right? I believe I was brought in and people thought I was only going to go so far.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people, when they get to a point where they sign with a company, that steady paycheck comes in, they're okay with being complacent in that spot. That's not who I am. I've never played JV. I've never sat the bench. I'm a starter. I'm a player, right?
Mhm.
Let me in, let me play, and I will help the team. That's who I am. I'm a captain. There's no backseat for me, right? And that doesn't mean I need to be the star. It means I want to play. You know what I mean? And when you get in certain positions, when you get and you start talking to certain people, life experience comes into play, right? I am a guy that I am professional. I'm easy to work with, but I also am not going to allow you to walk over me. I'm not going to allow you to take advantage of me. I'm not going to allow you to talk down to me. I'm not going to allow you to do what other people may let you do, right? Just because you have this status. We're both men, right?
Yep.
Or whoever. We're both grown, right? You're going to talk to me like you have respect. I'm going to talk to you like I have it. The second you start talking to me like you don't have it, I can match that energy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then we'll have to figure it out however we do. But so I believe there was a point to where people thought I was only going to reach a certain level. Once I started passing that, it was a situation where now I know I'm passing that and I'm going to be vocal about it. I feel like there was a lot of people that were like, you know what? Let's give it to him just so we can watch him fail so he'll shut up, right? Problem is, I didn't fail.
No.
Right. Hey,
Problem
starters
is-
don't fail. Starters
Problem
don't fail.
is, I went out there and did exactly what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
I went out there and did and went above and beyond, turned the TV title, and it was already a prestigious title, but I feel like returned that to a position that people were like, oh okay, we care about this championship again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't matter. What I loved about it so much in that whole run was I made every title defense feel like a big fight but if you look at my opponents, a lot of them were either just mid-card guys or training guys or guys that, like, it wasn't like they were giving me, you know, hey, go out there and you know, I didn't get the Tomohiro Ishiis, right? Or the Ospreys or anything else like that. These were just normal matches that we turned into stellar matches because everybody had a point to prove. Not only did I have a point to prove as champion, but everybody that I got in the ring with had a point to prove to make themselves and raise their stock. So now you've got two motivated people, both with that same drive going, okay, we'll show them, right? And you give me someone like that with that energy, we are absolutely going to go put on a show. And I was lucky enough to be in the ring with everybody that wanted to do that. And then there's also the point to where, and I said this when in the hype video for Roosh, and I'm not saying this is true, but this was the stigma that in order to really go far in Ring of Honor or in professional wrestling in general, especially when you're a black male, it's you can get ahead further if you learn to keep quiet, if you learn to put your head down, if you learn to just essentially shut up and wrestle, right? That's a real thing. I'm not that guy either. I believe what I believe. I was always taught to fight for that, to stand on that, to a man stands on what he believes in, but also with that understands that there can be consequences for that, right? But you have to be willing to accept those, and you know that's just what comes with the territory. So for me, it was a situation where I had people telling me that they weren't going to sign to Ring of Honor because they thought there was going to be limited opportunity, not just for themselves, but for me. I had people who were there who left for the same reason. And they were telling me like, yo, you got to go here. Yo, you got to go here. Yo, you got to do this. And my question was always, well, if no one's here, how do we change it? If no one's here, how do we fix it? How do we make this place the way we want it to be if everybody leaves or no one comes to it, right? So I made that a point for myself to be the one that stayed, to be the one that tried to fight, to be the one that tried to change, the way things worked. And I feel like in my time there, we started to get those changes. We get the Black History Month celebrations now. We get the roundtable discussions over social issues and police brutality and things of that sort. None of that stuff was happening in prior years. So I did not get to become and be the number one guy like the goal was, but I still feel as though my name and my legacy when people talk about Ring of Honor and my time there will be how I helped change the way Ring of Honor works, more so than maybe what I achieved in ring.
Yeah,
right.
Even though that was it was still a good amount of achievements in the ring.
And one of the hardest things for here, it's hard for us to get to watch Ring of Honor. I mean, it's on at 3:00 in the morning, and it's never the same time, never the same
Right.
day or anything like that. And
Right.
I'm sure Central Kentucky is not the only place that battles with that goal or with that challenge. And we talk about it all the time that if Ring of Honor and Impact both had a regular way to be on television, I mean, that's why everybody wants to go to WWE and AEW right now, because the goal is to be on TV, and because that's what drives the money, right? We know that. I wish that there were more, avenues for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, competition and having multiple options is always good. That's why you love places like NNWA or MLW, because they provide that as well. And I've always been a guy. I've always been an underdog guy. I've always been a guy that I don't necessarily like going to the favorite team, right? That's not fun for me. I like being on that team that we're not supposed to win. We're not supposed to be successful, playing that team and absolutely kicking the hell out of them, absolutely smashing them. And that's what I enjoy. So having that spirit is what drew me to Ring of Honor, right? It was supposed to be the place that was the alternative, was supposed to be, we're not the guys that these companies look for, but we're the best. And we're going to prove we're the best every single time we go out there. That's that fire and the spirit of the original guys. And for me, I felt as though the closest thing to resembling that in Ring of Honor current day is STP and maybe the Briscoes. You know what I mean? And so for us, it was about embodying that, being rebellious, being true to ourselves, understanding that, hey, these corporate people aren't going to like you, but it doesn't fucking matter because we're the best. You know what I mean? We are who we are. And carry that, you know what I mean? So, it was such a fun ride because number one, I got to do it my own way and I got to bring my guys with me. And I got to be in the ring with some absolutely incredible talent with Hall of Famers now with the Briscoes, you know what I mean? So shouts out to Mark and Jay for that. And yeah, if I had my choice, I would have stayed there the rest of my career, right? Because there was something so cool to me about what the Briscoes had done to never go anywhere else. Not that they couldn't, but that they chose to be right here and say, nah, we're going to carry this on our back as far as we can, as long as we can, until we can't do it anymore. And to me, I wanted to be that guy right next to them. I wanted to be the guy that if they decided, hey, you know what, we're going to hand this ball off, it's not going to anybody else but Shane.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I wanted that. You know what I mean? I wanted that pressure. I wanted that responsibility. I wanted everything that comes with that. But we find ourselves in a position now where, you know, it's time to go play for somebody else, and that's just what you do.
Right. So, Shane, tell us how you got started in the business. What drew Shane Taylor to professional wrestling?
Oh, man. I knew I wanted to be a wrestler at an early age, and that's sort of the common thing. But like, it wasn't like the fairy tale thing for me, right? Where someone's like, well, the moment Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant, it inspired me so much, and I just knew I wanted to. No, like my dad took me to Richfield Coliseum in Richfield, Ohio. Then the WWF at the time, as it was known then, would come through. They would run their loops, and my dad was huge into bodybuilding at the time. So what would happen is he would go to the gym, and all the guys would go in there. So I got to see my dad when I was, 4 or 5 years old, lifting with the Road Warriors and all these people, and they're doing ungodly amounts of weight. You know what I mean? Like 45s on all, you stack the bar with 45s, lock it in. That's not enough. Put people on the bar, start lifting that. You know what I mean? It's just like, all right, bro, we get it. Like, you won, bro. You beaten the gym. You know what I mean? Like, and so you spending time at the show, in the ring with the guys, and doing all this stuff. And then I remember seeing Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich against the Warlord. Now, not by any standards what anybody would call a 5-star match today, but that's just the match it was. It goes to a double count out, and the place comes absolutely unglued. I'm talking about people are throwing hot dogs and popcorn and drinks everywhere. And I'm looking around like, what the hell is going on? And I look up at my dad, and he had that look like, don't even think about it, because I had a drink here too. I was like, well, I mean, if they're throwing it, he was like, don't even fucking think about it. You know what I mean? So I let that slide, obviously, because, I'm not gonna get in trouble. But I'm someone who is antagonistic by nature, combative by nature, right? Like, if you tell me you believe something, or you tell me you're this guy, I'm going to need you to show me, because I don't believe you. You know what I mean? At that point, I was like, they're getting paid to make these people this upset where they're going to throw away stuff that they spent their hard-earned money on. Yeah, whatever job this is, I want to do that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it got started. And then once I started studying it and looking at things, I was still trying to figure out where my place in it would be, right? Because we had a lot of black stars, but a lot of them, especially then, are just very, very stereotypical when it comes to culture stuff for us. And none of that really fit with who I was as a kid. Like, I knew people that talked like Slick, right? But nobody really liked those people. Those dudes were hustlers. They were just people you didn't want to be around, right? Nobody I knew owned a parrot. Nobody I knew, had dog chains, and that's no disrespect to them. It's just, I couldn't relate to any of it.
Right.
And then along came Ron Simmons. And watching him power slam and beat Vader for the world championship, that was the moment that I was like, that guy, that I can do. Go out there, be myself, bust my ass, and just be a bad dude who climbs the ranks. That I can do. That's me, right? And ever since then, it was, oh, okay. In order to be, I call them the immortals, right? In order to become one of the immortals, I need to be able to follow this sort of template, right? And that's essentially what you have now, and while I was not as accomplished a football player as Ron, I played ball, ran track, wrestled, and then, I box. I'm a huge boxing fan. So what I've been able to do, and especially these last few years, is really hone in on personality traits of mine that have come into be because of my love for this sport of boxing. And what Shane Taylor is and who he is essentially the best versions of three of my favorite fighters, which are Ali, Floyd Mayweather, and Mike Tyson, right? So what I like to do,
I mean, three good ones.
absolutely, right? So I say what I say to myself is talk like Floyd, hit like Tyson, lead like Ali, right? And that's what I try to embody anytime I'm in the ring, anytime I'm on the microphone, anytime people see me in general, is to be able to talk you into a building, give you one hell of a fight, and then when you talk to me outside of it, be a man of the people, lead, be the husband, be the father, be the big brother, be the cousin, be whatever I need to be to the people who follow me, because that's what they want from me. So it's the journey to being one of those immortals is still going, and hopefully, wherever the next spot is, that's going to be the goal, is to put a bow on this career. Not that I'm going anywhere anytime soon, but to be able to put that stamp on it, as to say, okay, I achieved what I wanted to.
Right. It must be a pretty surreal feeling that anytime there's a list that comes out that AEW has to sign this guy, Impact has to sign this guy, WWE has to sign this guy, Shane Taylor's name is always on that list. So you are one of the hottest free agents in professional wrestling. I mean, that's kind of got to be a surreal feeling, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I'm used to my entire life has been, and the way I operate best is when people are telling me that I can't do something, or I can't be something, or I won't do something. Then I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna move mountains to make you look stupid today, right? So now we're in a position where people are like, no, we know you're good. Like, we know you have all the talent. We know. And I'm just like, well, yeah, but they're like, no, it's okay. Like, we know. And I'm like, and then damn, you know what I mean? Like, there's no, but yeah, man, like, it's cool to hear my name come up in these conversations. I've had some good talks with some places. And what it boils down to, for any place that I don't go, is just environment and what they're looking for, right? Like, some people, if their roster is smaller guys, they don't necessarily want bigger athletes, right? Because it makes their guys look smaller, and this is the direction that they're moving in, right? Other people, they may want younger talent. I just turned 36, right? So you're like, okay, well, regardless of talent, we're only looking for this, right? So it's all about fit and environment, and then you get into money and creative and all of that stuff. So it's a process, but had some great talks with some places already. Gonna continue those, and like I said, I think what I want to do is wait until this gold rush period is over, right? Let everybody figure out what it is that they want to go and flood wherever. And then as people are looking at, what's next, what's that next big thing, who's going to make that next big splash, you see me and my guys and go, yeah, now it's time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now that all of the attention, now that, all of everybody else has sort of filtered into where they're going to go, now all eyes come to us and what we do next. So, it's kind of just biding our time at this point and just kind of just playing the game.
I think it was a little unexpected, the whole Ring of Honor thing to happen. And then, of course, WWE has been dropping people like flies here over the last year or so. So when you say Gold Rush, you're right. I mean, there's just so many people that are without a home at the moment, I guess is the way you could say it. I won't say unemployed because, wrestlers will always find a spot to wrestle, right? But that home front. And so it was one thing with all the WWE stuff, and of course Ring of Honor does their thing. So it definitely flooded the waters, I guess you could say. I want to add one thing. I go back just for a second. You mentioned Ron Simmons a while ago, and Neil, I don't know if you remember this or not, but a few weeks ago we did the Ric Flair show, and Shane, just a little premise of what we do. This is like an added on thing. These interviews is what we do on our YouTube channel. But our regular podcast is we fantasy book things, right? So we go back and look at moments in history and we rewrite it. So a show that we did 3 or 4 weeks ago was we went back and looked at when Ric Flair left WCW and went to the WWF. And the show premise was, well, what happens if he doesn't leave the WCW and he stays? And the number one thing that we came up with is Ron Simmons doesn't get the opportunity to be the world champion because they're probably going to leave that belt on Flair. So
and it probably goes back and forth, But he did definitely benefit
by the opportunity, of Flair leaving, and I think it was fantastic. And I can't think of another African American man that was the world champion in WWE and WCW. Am I missing one? I think he's the only one, isn't he?
He never won it. He never won it in WWE though.
Oh, I thought he did when he was in the Nation of Domination.
No.
I missed that.
The Rock ended up winning the Intercontinental title and then going on to. I want to say The Rock was the first Black champion that they had.
I believe you're right, Shane.
Yeah,
you're right. And one of the things, and I'll touch on this for a second. One of the things that I hate is just because someone is maybe racially ambiguous, like people try to discredit history from them. I hate that, right? Because especially for us, there's enough people rooting there's enough people rooting against us, and there's enough people trying to trip us up. We don't need to be doing it, right? Like there's plenty of people that don't want to see us succeed, and they want to see us fail. We don't need to be adding to the bullshit. So I believe, like, when people talk about first Black champion, I want to say it was The Rock, and then you follow that up with Kofi, and there's a difference between, for me, and this is not to discount or discredit anybody's accomplishment, but I feel like when you talk about being the top guy is not the same as being a world champion, right? I feel like I love Henry and I love Booker. They're incredible. They're incredible stars, legends. Booker T did it at WCW 5 times, right? He was the top guy. I feel like in the WWE runs, though, that world title was it was higher than the secondary titles, but not the title, right?
Right.
And so when you're talking about being WWE champion, it's The Rock, it's Kofi. Then now you've got Lashley, you've got Big E, and now Lashley again. So like even in our era now, you're seeing you're seeing progress, right? It took 50 something years to get one, and then in the last 2-3 years we've had another 4, right? Or 3. You know what I'm saying? But it's like that's massive, right? And I believe like Lashley to E was like back to back. You know what I mean? So that was the first time in history. Like we're still, and it's crazy that even though this is a sport that's been going on since the 40s and the 50s, we're still getting firsts, You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
which is cool, but also like, damn, like, so it's very inspiring to see, and whether people want to agree with it or not, they still set the bar, right? They may not be the coolest, but they set the bar. What they do translates and resonates on down to the indies through everybody, right? So the fact that we're seeing that happen up there, I feel is very promising for other companies going forward, because they're going to have to match that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, if the biggest place is doing it, you don't really have an excuse. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of people use well, just give it time. I go, no, you've been able to watch an example for 50 years on how to do something. You've been able to see how society has been going this whole time. So if you're still of the mind that you're not going to create black stars or put people in positions to be successful, like, you're doing it because you simply don't want that, not because you're waiting for some magic moment to make it happen.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
And, you know, Ron Simmons is one of those, and before we move on to the next question, he's one of those universally liked guys, from what I can tell. I think everybody, oh, they don't?
No. I agree with you. I'm just saying, like,
no.
oh no, I would no, bro. Like, I was just like, that's a reaction, because it's like, yeah, like, no one ever says a bad word about Ron. Like, he's the man. Anytime you talk about him, it's, oh, Ron's the man. Oh, fuck yeah, we love Ron. Like, there's nothing bad about the dude, and like, yeah, like, it's been an honor for me, and such a crazy thing in my career. I was I got to work for a place in New Orleans called Wildcat Sports, owned by Luke Hawks. And I was the first African-American champion that they had. And I got into a feud with Stevie Ray of Harlem Heat. And when we had our rematch for me to get the title back, Ron was the special guest enforcer. So I got to win my championship and have Ron present it to me. And it just put me in a spot to where I was like, man, I watched one of my heroes win this world title, and now here I am winning a championship, and he's handing it to me.
Right.
And it was just such a, such an out of body moment. And then not only that, but let's not lose the fact that I'm also in here with one half of maybe one of the greatest, the greatest tag team of all time, and a legend and a Hall of Famer himself in Stevie Ray. Like, just that moment in time to go, man, this is, you'd have never guessed this kid from the east side of Cleveland, Ohio would be in this spot here. You know what I mean? But yet here we are. So it's crazy how things work sometimes.
Right. And I mean, and you're exactly right. Ron's one of those universally liked guys, and it was such a feel-good moment for him to finally, he worked so hard to get to that, to get to the mountaintop. And I am fortunate and thankful that Ric Flair did leave and go to the WWF and chase other things, because it did open the door for Ron Simmons to be the world champion in 1992. And that was awesome.
And it's wild, right? Because then you talk about, like, the butterfly effect, right? Like, what happens if he doesn't do that? Does he then doesn't become that guy, which may not inspire Book or T to chase that, which may not have happened there? You know what I mean? Like, there could be, which then I don't see, which could be a different path altogether. Like, it's crazy to think about what one moment could do, and then what wouldn't have happened without it. You know what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? Like, it's nuts.
And that's what we like doing the most on our show is that exact thing. So, but enough about our show. We're here to talk about Shane Taylor. Shane, tell us some of your most favorite opponents in the ring.
Oh, that's easy. You probably have to start with number one. I would go with Kenny King. Personally, I don't care if they like him or they don't. Kenny King to me is probably the most underrated performer of the last 20 years. It's almost like he gets the same thing that Dolph gets, right? He performs so well, so consistently, he makes it look so easy, it almost looks like he's not trying.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is he's just that damn good. You know what I mean? And so a lot of that gets taken for granted because you see it all the time from them, right? No different than like a Larry Fitzgerald, right? Like you'd hear stories about him. He'd make these spectacular catches in practice all the time. They just became routine. So people are like, oh, that's just Larry doing what he, it's just Larry being Larry. But it's like, no, man, that's still an amazing catch. Like,
Right.
50 people on the planet make that catch. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
But like, so he's one of those. Ray Rowe, Eric of Viking Raider fame. He's one of those. My trainer, best friend, godfather to my kids. He's another one who brings everything out of me. Jay Briscoe, both Briscoes, demand that you bring your very best, as you should, as when you're facing someone of that caliber. Guys like Brody King, I love being in there with someone who matches that energy physically, vocally. And I feel like we bring the best out of each other. Probably Jeff Cobb too. The matches with Jeff Cobb in Philly and the pay-per-view match that we had, as well as the TV title 4-way, for the two of us to have never been in the ring together to produce what we did. I feel like the matches with him really sort of started all the buzz and really catapulted me, into becoming who I am now, so again, and we talk about, one thing being different, right? Let's say I show up to Philly that day and my opponent is not Jeff Cobb. There could be no buzz for that. There could have been no UK tour. There could have been no TV title run. There could have been no STP. Like, all of these things stemmed from what opened people's eyes in this match, right? And what people don't talk about a lot is the fact that before that, it was me and Hangman Page, and we went out and tore it up too. So like the confidence that I gained from the match with Page went into the match with Cobb, which then went into the UK tour, which then goes into the TV title run, which then goes into the creation of STP, which then goes into the 6-man title run, which we were hoping was going to turn into a world title run, but that just didn't happen. But starting there to where we're at now, is just is crazy to see. But I do feel as though at some point that's going to land itself to becoming the number one guy in a company somewhere.
And I think you're 100% accurate. Yeah, I mean, you talked about one of the guys you look up to. You said talk like Floyd. And one thing I think you have in common with Floyd is I think you're both money. So whatever company signs you is getting a rock star. And I truly wholeheartedly believe that.
Thank you, man. That is the goal, man, to be able to go in there and absolutely from day one, again, show up, start, play, win, and help my team win. So we will see.
I think one of the exciting things about us getting to talk to you prior to you signing that deal and becoming the face everywhere, it's like, we're still trying to grow this thing. Mm-hmm. And so it's super exciting to be able to talk to you. And we've kept you on here for a while. So, Neil, do you have anything else before we get to that last question?
I do want to talk about one thing. We have an invasion angle, it looks like, going on Impact involving some Ring of Honor talent. Taven and Bennett and Victor and PCO. And they've been getting a lot of press. Well, there's been people thinking that what they did recently when they attacked D'Lo might bring Shane Taylor Promotions to Impact to be like, what's going on? Like, you had no business touching D'Lo. D'Lo wasn't doing nothing.
I mean, here's the thing, right? And I addressed somebody on Twitter, because I said, hey, yo, like, if you want to show up somewhere, raise hell, kick people's ass, that's fine. Like, we've got no problem with that. But like you said, what did D'Lo do to you? Like, you're not going to put your hands on a legend. You're not going to put your hands on someone who's a personal favorite of ours and someone asked, well, if he wasn't black, would you care? Yeah. Like if you put your hands on Taker, we'd be just as pissed. Or you know what I mean? Like he didn't do anything to you. But the fact that the fact that it is D-Lo, the fact that it is someone who's entertained me my entire life, I got a problem. You know what I'm saying? And D-Lo, Scott D'Amore, like if there's an enemy that you want to fight, the best thing you could do is bring in someone who knows that enemy better than you do.
Right.
I've seen PCO, I've seen Vincent, I've seen Bennett, I've seen Taven, I've seen Maria. I know who they are. I know what makes them tick. I know how to beat them. We know how to handle that fight. So if that's something that they wanted to do, we're the guys to do it. We will see what they want to do. I'm anxious to see, what happens. I've talked to D-Lo. He's getting better, So he knows he has my number. He can always reach out and call anytime.
Right.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing wherever you land. That's for sure. So one of the things we like to do when we wrap these up is we're big Mount Rushmore guys, right? We have done a million different Mount Rushmores of all these different types of things. But we ultimately know that, when people are thinking, what's everybody ask? Everybody always asks, what's your Mount Rushmore of wrestling? So it's kind of one of the things we like to ask you guys when we're doing these is like, if you had to look at it, who would be your Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling? And that could be something personal, somebody that inspired you, or however you want to look at it.
Best of all time, draws, however Shane Taylor looks at it. Who would be Shane Taylor's top 4 in professional wrestling?
If we're going over the entire history, then it would have to be Rock, Taker, Austin, Michaels.
It's a good top. That's a good 4. That's a solid 4. That is for sure.
If it's that's just, yeah. And then if you think about it, right, they were all in the same era at the same time. Right. That's crazy.
Right.
Like when people talk about that era and why it was such a boom, like you look at the talent and like there's nothing but home run hitters on this roster, right? And if you think about those next guys, like even the guys after them, right, who didn't accomplish as much are still home run hitters. They just didn't get as many chances to swing because you're got these guys like imagine being a guy that knew you could break Barry Bonds' record, but you didn't get to play because they had Barry Bonds. Like, there's nothing you can do about that, fam. Like, and you don't want to go to another team because they're gonna just beat the hell out of you, right? Like, so it's crazy. Like, they just had so like. You listen to them talk and just how they all wanted to make each other better, but they all wanted to outdo each other. And like that's so dope. And like that vibe is what we carry in STP. Like everybody wants to outdo the next person, not because they want to, not because they want them to lose, but because they want to then set the bar on what to achieve. Right. So if I'm the captain and I set the bar here, O'Shea wants to push the bar further. Khan wants to push the bar further. Moses wants to push the bar further. Ron wants to push the bar further. And I got to come back and push it further, right? And the more we're doing that, the more we are making each other better. And that's what I love about that era so much. That's what I love about what we are and what we do so much. And man, it's wild to really sit back and think there was just so much talent at one time. In the same spot at the same time. Like that's when you think about it, it's like getting to sit back and go, okay, we get to watch Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron all start their careers at the same time in their prime. Let's see what happens.
Right.
We got to watch that play out. It's wild.
And and professional wrestling today
Mhm.
would not be what it is without those guys, right? I
No,
mean,
not at all.
if you don't have the Hogans, the Flairs, and the guys that you mentioned, and
Mhm.
and stuff, there's probably not. I mean, I know everybody likes to crap on the WWE, but professional wrestling wouldn't exist without the WWE today. It just
Oh,
wouldn't.
and honorable mention and or interchangeable face. If you put Cena up there too, instead of I could switch Michaels and or Cena
Yeah.
In that, because again, you're talking about a guy who goes out there, ties Flair's record, has been arguably the most polarizing figure of the last decade.
Yep.
At least.
You know what I'm saying? At least you're talking about somebody who's transcended the sport, who's hit mainstream, you know, and to me, that's what I really define that greatness as, the ability to not just be good in the ring, but be good outside of it, right? And reach that next level of superstardom. You know what I mean? And did it with everybody sort of kind of rooting against him, right? Like, not obviously like the kids, you know what I mean? But everybody was like, it's too much too soon. This guy sucks. And to just take all that and work and go, I don't care. I'm still going to be this guy.
Right.
To deliver in every match, to deliver in every promo, to like, you talk about a level of consistency and a level of focus that not a lot of people in this world have. And I believe not only that, but when you look at what like somebody like Roman is doing right now,
Yeah.
if he continues on this path, it's going to be hard to not put him up there near that conversation too. Like, the way he's been able to turn essentially what was his biggest weakness into his biggest strength is incredible.
Yep.
Right now, it's like, look, I don't have to go out there and wrestle. I'm about to just sit here, talk. Y'all about to pay this money, and we gonna do this thing and have this fight, and that's just gonna be what it is, you know. And man, it's really dope to just watch people evolve and you know, sort of master who they are and master their role in this game.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, Shane, before we wrap up, just tell us one other thing. Where can folks find you at on social media? And then do you have merchandise available as well? Where can they find that at?
Of course. At Shane216 Taylor on Twitter and Instagram. Got it back. So everybody go follow those. All the links to the merchandise are in the bios of those social media platforms. So if you're in the merch buying mood, we got hats, jackets. We got everything you need, all the way down to baby onesies if you wanted it. You know what I mean? Nice. So we got everything you need.
Nice. Well, awesome. Well, Shane, we really appreciate the time from with you tonight. Sorry about the technical difficulties we had at the beginning, but it gave us an opportunity to talk football, which we love that part of it. Yeah. So,
crazy.
Well, guys, you've been watching the From Corner to Corner podcast, and we've had the pleasure of being with Shane Taylor, the CEO of Shane Taylor Promotions. You can follow us on Twitter as well at Corner to Corner PC, and then we're also on TikTok, From Corner to Corner. And we're on Facebook as well, From Corner to Corner. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. This show will drop next Friday on the 10th of February. So we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, Shane.
Thank you, boys.